It was a dry Wednesday on the 31st of October 1917. Camped in the scrub outside the town of Beersheba in southern Palestine, the Australian men of the 4th and 12th Light Horse Regiments anxiously awaited their orders. They were out of water and low on rations, and their horses were exhausted. The only source of water were the wells in the town that lay ahead of them, which was heavily defended with machine guns and artillery and manned by the Ottoman forces of the 4th Army. To assault the town, these brave Australian men would have to charge in the open over 3 kilometres under artillery and machine gun fire. An absolutely absurd task. The Great War of 1914 to 1918, with its advances in firepower and technology, was to finally put out to pasture the horse-mounted attack, which had reigned supreme on the battlefield for the last 2,500 years. What would happen on this day at Beersheba would go down in history as the final great cavalry charge. Has there been a more successful partnership in human history than man and horse? Their slender beauty, power and magnificence have captured us since the first moment our ancestors laid eyes upon them. Horses evolved in North America roughly 4 to 4.5 million years ago, spreading outward during the ice ages as lowered sea levels exposed a land bridge between Alaska and eastern Siberia. By the time humans reached the Eurasian steppe, horses were already there, and had been for a long time. They were hunted for food like any other animal. That relationship begins to shift around 3500 to 3000 BCE, roughly 5.5 to 6,000 years ago, when steppe communities started keeping horses as livestock alongside cattle, sheep, and goats. The earliest evidence suggests horses were valued primarily for their meat and milk, and not for riding. But somewhere in the generations that followed, a more dangerous idea takes hold. If a horse could be sufficiently tamed, not just herded, but controlled, it would allow a human to sit on its back and move with the speed and endurance of the animal itself. If you were to plot all of human history on a graph, tens of thousands of years of slow, grinding change, there would be a massive spike when we get to the horse. Suddenly everything speeds up for us. We can travel further and faster. We can hunt more efficiently, move herds, carry loads, send messages, explore, scout, raid, fight, retreat. Distance stops being a limitation and starts becoming something you can exploit, and gives you an incredible advantage over those who have not integrated this technology yet. The world gets smaller and human reach gets longer. The horse changes us. It rewires how we move, think, organise, and survive. And once that happens, things only speed up from there. Long before ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, or the great dynasties of China carved out their place in history, there existed a far older people, the Proto-Indo-Europeans. We cannot name them. They left no written records, no temples or monuments to announce themselves. But what they did leave was something quieter, yet far more enduring: their language. And from it, reconstructed piece by piece through the later tongues of Europe and Asia, we can trace the roots of half the world's cultures back to a single horizon on the great Eurasian steppe. And at the centre of that world stood the horse. The Proto-Indo-European language is the ancestor of English, Latin, Greek, Persian, Sanskrit, Russian, and dozens more. It acts like a fossil bed made of sound. Through the echoes preserved in its daughter languages, we can reconstruct fragments of a world that vanished 5,000 years ago. Their word for horse is one of the clearest of these echoes. The Proto-Indo-European root hekwas survives almost intact across vast distances and millennia. In Latin, it becomes equus, still visible today in words like equestrian. In Greek, it appears as hippos, preserved in hippopotamus, hippos, horse, potamus, river, literally river horse. In Sanskrit, it emerges as asva, carried not just in language but into mythology itself, where the Ashvins, divine twin horsemen, ride across the Vedic dawn. In Old Irish, it endures simply as ek. Different cultures, different gods, different worlds, yet the same animal, remembered in the same way. Another root, Markos, meaning steed or warhorse, survives in Celtic and Germanic tongues, the ancestor of the modern English word mare. Even their words for movement and swiftness cluster around the horse. Kurs, meaning to run, survives in car, course, courier, and current. Their vocabulary reveals what their archaeology shows. The horse was not just an animal to these people, it was deeply entwined with their way of life. And from this foundation of mobility, pastoral wealth, and horse-powered expansion, the Proto-Indo-Europeans began to radiate outward in all directions. One branch moves south into Iran and India, another presses west into the Balkans and Greece. Others fan out toward Italy, the Alps, the forests of Germany, the plains of Poland, the Ukrainian steppe, and deep into Central Asia. In time, they will become the ancestors of peoples we know well. The Persians, Greeks, the Romans, the Celts, Slavs, Germans, and the Scythians. While these nomadic peoples were spreading across the ancient world, something entirely different was taking shape further south. Between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates and modern-day Iraq, people were making a radical choice to stop moving. To put down roots, build walls, and stay in one place. And from that stillness, they built the first cities the world had ever seen. In our next episode, we will go back in time to the first people to harness the horse for war, the ancient Sumerians around 3500 BCE, and trace the greatest cavalry cultures all the way forward to World War I and the final great cavalry charge. If you are not subscribed yet, hit that button and I'll see you there.